Ukraine's relations with its neighbors have always been intense and sometimes complicated. This is the reality of historical processes involving those who care about their past, let alone their future. Political and social circles, diplomatic games, business or even personal interests have been influencing relations between both countries and their citizens for centuries. This is the Ukraine Neighbors Points of Contact podcast, and here we are looking for commonalities in the relations between us and our neighboring countries. Ukraine, Poland, take my hand.
In the previous episode of the podcast, we noted that history, economy, and security are important factors of unity for Ukraine and the Republic of Poland. In these issues, there are points of contact and a unifying pillar in the vision of the future for both countries. They will help Ukraine on its way to integration into the European Union, says Pavlo Klimkin, Ukrainian diplomat and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine in 2014-2019.
Without Polish business, it will be difficult for us to develop, difficult to reboot the economy, and difficult to take our steps in the European Union. But again, this will always be an emotional history. And I don't think we will get past this emotional history. We sometimes react to certain words, not actions. I think that in politics we should react to words, but be guided only by actions. Poles have different things. Sometimes we like something, sometimes not so much, but we are destined to work together, including in the security sector. As the Poles always say, your security is our security, and it is very important that they do not take this back.
Poland informally plays the role of a guide to the European Union for Ukraine. By doing so, it strengthens its authority in the international stage. Other members of the organization also tolerate this arrangement, and here's why. In January 2025, Poland will take over the EU presidency from Hungary, and thus a new package of economic sanctions against Russia will be discussed only then. This is an unofficial joint decision of the EU member states which want to avoid excessive influence of the Russia's sympathizers. For each country, the EU presidency right, which is granted in turn and waited for years, is an opportunity to demonstrate its effectiveness and a chance to lobby for important decisions. For Poland, a country with historically strong democracy, such a leading role is an additional ambition to establish a reputation as a strong and influential player in the European and international arena. Seeing Ukraine as a part of the European Union is a mutual aspiration for both Ukraine and Poland. The main thing is that the priorities do not change. The presidential election in Poland, which has already begun, may provoke candidates to make controversial statements. It is important to understand that this is a performance designed for the Polish voter, and it is important for Ukrainians to just calmly watch from the sidelines, insists Jan Pieklo, ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Republic of Poland to Ukraine in 2016-2019.
In the future, we will have elections for a new president of Poland at the end of Andrzej Duda's term. And some high-ranking officials from the coalition, from the government, think that they can make statements that can help Sikorski or Drzakovsky win. This is a very bad technique, and we do not really need it. The enemy never sleeps.
It is more difficult to focus and without emotion on commonalities and solve problems between two states when the third state clearly aims to quarrel and weaken both of them. This is how Russia acts. Because of the neighbors know where each other's sore spots are, and the enemies do not miss a chance to use them and spoil the relationship, said Dariusz Materniak, a security expert and editor-in-chief of the Polish-Ukrainian portal Pol-Ukr.net.
Mało того, що Росія використовує такі моменти в нашої спільноті.
Not only is Russia using such moments of our common history, it is also trying to create situations that could be a pretext for some negative phenomena in Polish-Ukrainian relations. Even if we look at everything that happened before 2014, before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The vast majority of situations that involved the destruction of Polish monuments on the territory of Ukraine and vice versa were caused by Russia. This has also been evident over the past 3 years. Even if you look at the situation on the Ukrainian-Polish border, one could even see calls for Putin to come to Poland and restore order in the EU.
Він пішов в Польщу, в Європейський Союз і навів порядок.
In the media, officials and politicians sometimes become hostages to such manipulations, as their statements are too emotional and their positions are subjective and personal. However, due to the general tension and exhaustion of military trials, the challenges of forced immigration and humanitarian situation in general, people in each country have become more receptive to such messages, and the general media literacy of citizens needs to be improved.
Klimkin.
Мене непокоїть наші відносини.
I am concerned about our relations. I am concerned about their emotional background. But I believe that we can work with this, and there is no need to be offended, but to work. If not more, then not less at least.
Якщо не більше, то так само.
Energy is a resource.
Along with the common pro-European democratic values, the fight against a common enemy and history that we must accept is unalienable. Ukrainians and Poles have another object of common concern: energy resources. Both countries are large in size, rich in material resources, and dynamically involved in European logistics and transitional networks. Many businesses operate in this sector, and significant human resources and capital are involved. The interest in stability in the energy sector is a point of contact which is of interest at all levels of cooperation between Ukraine and Poland, insists Vitaly Dyachuk, an analyst at the Institute for Central European Strategy and the Reopen Ukraine project.
Наші сусіди зацікавлені.
Our neighbors are also interested in Ukraine's stability because we have a common dependence on energy resources. Ukraine is a transit country. Ukraine uses gas reverse flows, receives electricity from these countries, and this means money for their budget. In return, they receive transit from us, on which they are still dependent.
Транзит, від якого вони досі залежні.
The expert is convinced that the Polish government, as well as the governments of other neighboring countries of Ukraine, are interested in restoring energy systems damaged by the Russian missile attacks. The post-war reconstruction of Ukraine will also be a major joint effort that the neighboring states are already preparing for. This will require significant funds and a large amount of investment. Working together will ensure efficiency and results for all neighbors, continues Vitaly Dyachuk.
Це все потребує.
This all requires a lot of work. It cannot be solved in one day with a snap of fingers or even a change of government, because state policy changes more slowly than governments change in countries.
Ніж змінюються уряди в країнах.
Experts emphasize that any cooperation will be more effective if society understands the actions of the authorities. Such steps should be explained by professional media that are protected from the influence of Russian propaganda and psychological operations. We have already mentioned the monitoring that analyzes Ukrainian and Polish topics coverage in various Ukrainian media. The study showed that the local cross-border media outlet Західний covers the very historical and cultural aspects of the neighborly relations much more often. Instead, national media outlets have their finger on the pulse of the economic and political events. However, in both cases, the media mainly advocate for Poland throughout the image of a neighbor, partner, defender, and helper. It is important that the media did not create artificial problems, and the number of stories regarding this or that topic naturally decreased as the issue was resolved.
Seeking understanding and not hitting sore spots is an important skill for those who are responsible neighbors. This is the Ukraine Neighbors Points of Contact podcast, a project to find commonalities in Ukraine's relations with its neighboring countries. The podcast was created with the financial and organizational support of the Gайnrіха Bьолля Foundation, Kyiv Office, Ukraine.